out has been in the last decade?
Wow, that's a good question. I thought the one that was at the University of Kentucky, and I don't know if that was the last decade, but it was within kind of that time period, where they found the Federal Express envelope, and it kind of broke loose there, was a big one. Are you talking about colleges in specific, or just
anything?
I think the steroids book that the guys from the San Francisco Chronicle did was huge. I mean, that busted that wide open. I almost went to jail for it, because it involved leaked grand jury testimony. But that kind of broke the steroids issue, I think, wide open. I thought that that would probably be the most important one overall. And there's one that's going on right now that I think is not getting a lot of attention, but I think it will. New York Times has done a lot of good work lately involving former players in the NFL and the dementia issue and the cause of head injuries, in particular to what seems like an inordinate amount of Alzheimer's or dementia issues involving former players. So that's one that's ongoing right now that's going to have some legs. But without question, I think it's a steroid one.
How many articles did you write about that, the steroids issue?
Well, it's kind of awkward for me. Not what I consider a highlight of my career. I was a baseball beat writer during the height of the steroids era. From 1986 to 1998, that was my beat. I was the Tigers beat writer for the Open Press. And, I knew that it was going on. Everybody else knew it was going on. But I didn't report it, per se, because it was virtually impossible not to crack. That's why I said that those guys have, or did, was enormous. They should win a Pulitzer Prize for it. They almost went to jail, because of what they did. It was such a difficult thing. But to me, it was a disappointment that I covered baseball throughout that time and knew all this was going on in kind of this hush-hush way. And so did everybody else, but we didn't get it done, and I'm not putting myself to blame for that. It's not something I consider too good. That, I could still tell you 10 players that haven't been implicated on it. I knew were doing steroids, but how do you prove that?
Right, exactly.
It's really, there was a great case. Thomas Boswell, who writes a column for the Washington Post, he wrote a book called When Time Begins on Opening Day, and he was considered the preeminent baseball writer in the country at the time when I started on the beat. I mean, people were buying his books, and everybody had to read Thomas Boswell because he had this great feel for baseball. He goes on Nightline, and he talks about Jose Canseco, and he says, well, everybody knows that Jose Canseco is using steroids or something along those lines, made a crack. And Jose Canseco sued him. Said, I'm not doing steroids, all these different things. Mocked it, said he wasn't any money to sue him for, and Boswell's reputation took a big hit because of that. And it's still, he was a prominent columnist and everything, but not to the same degree after that. And, Jose Canseco ended up being the poster child for steroids. So, that's the whole climate of the whole thing, and that's the way it works, so.
Do you think that reporters that are going into those kind of deep investigative